Think outside the box, if you will. I mean, go there, go off campus. Let's think this through. And sure enough, that's where the Mustang was born. When it finally hit, it took the country by storm.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. You know, this is the show where we put cars into the context of our everyday lives. As you can tell, we're not coming to you from the studio of WMTV. We're here at the Automotive Hall of Fame in Dearborn for a very special show, a little bit of historical perspective on a very iconic car. And to help us do that, to kick things off, we have the president of the Automotive Hall of Fame here, Bill Chapin. Bill, thanks for hosting Cars in Context here at the Automotive Hall of Fame.
And thank you for being here at the Automotive Hall of Fame. It's great to have you here and for this special occasion.
Well, it is going to be a very special summer here, as it always is a great place to come and visit and see some of our heritage and some of our history. But this summer, Bill, we've got a very special display that you're putting on. Plus, you're actually hosting a really cool show about a very cool car, about a family that most people that are from Detroit, especially people in the Grosse Pointes, should know the name Ford. So why don't you give us a little bit of hint on what's going to be going on this summer and what this Ford history lesson that we're going to be learning a little more about this summer is going to entail?
Well, as you can see, we're standing in front of the exhibit of Henry Ford II, and he was inducted into the Automotive Hall of Fame in 1983. And most people probably understand that Henry Ford was actually pulled out of the Navy in the early 40s, just towards the end of World War II, by the federal government because the Ford Motor Company was in very dire straits. And what he did at Ford during that period of time is probably his most important legacy in the company. I mean, as you can see, the sign was, he was green and searching for answers, and that's absolutely true. But he brought in new management, including a group called the Whiz Kids that many people are familiar with, including Robert McNamara. And he also produced and approved the 49 Ford, which was an incredibly successful car at a very important time for the Ford Motor Company. So if you ask historians, that's probably what they think his legacy is. But we're here today because I think there's another legacy. And you know, in 1963, he had made an attempt to buy Ferrari and the automotive production from Mr. Ferrari. And Mr. Ferrari decided that he was going to keep his cars, and at that point, Mr. Ford said, we're going to take another path, and he kicked off a project that ultimately was called the Ford GT40. Right. And
that was in 1963, and of course, a few folks were around back then, and even if you weren't, you should understand that the auto racing world, that was kind of like the Super Bowl of the automotive world.
Absolutely.
And most of it was being done in Europe, and American car makers were not doing, that's why really Ford wanted Ferrari, because no American car maker could win over there. So he actually purchased, or attempted to purchase Ferrari, and when they said, you know, pulled out of the deal, right, he said, you know, we're going to start our own program. That was, what, 50 years ago this year?
Absolutely.
So in 1963, he launched this program, and of course...
but he took the leadership within the company, and of course, you know, he was running it, but more importantly, he paid specific attention to kicking off the design of the vehicle in the Advanced Design Studio in '63, which was really the first launch, the first activity of the Ford GT program, which is why in 2013 we're having this celebration.
50 years.
But he also then, you know, kicked off a workshop in Detroit. Here, well, it was actually here in Dearborn, right here, to begin the design and production, the engineering and production of the vehicle, so that by 1966, he and his son, Edsel Ford II, were on hand at Le Mans in France for the 24-hour race to watch Ford GT40 come in first, second, and third.
That's a 1-2-3 sweep in really what then was the Super Bowl of automotive racing. And you have to understand that when you win this, for Mr. Ford, it was a great marketing coup, because a company that could win the greatest, most prestigious race in the world, it says a lot about your engineering. And that's really why he really wanted to win this wonderful race. And I'll tell you, that was akin to like the the Olympic hockey team winning against the Russians. It just doesn't happen for an American car company.
Never.
So Henry saw the value in winning Le Mans.
Absolutely, and you know, I think that is certainly another very important part of his legacy that most people don't know about and most people don't give him credit for.
Right. Something that you're going to be able to learn more about this summer here at the Hall of Fame. And I really think that something like this has got to add a lot of luster to of all the history that sits here.
Well, you know, we've got, one of the things that we have here are numerous stories about auto legends and the iconic cars that they developed. And there's no, you know, there's no difference here. I mean, you can take the 49 Ford and you can take the Ford GT40 as two of, we believe, Henry Ford II's truly most iconic cars. And for that, that's the kind of stories we like to tell around here.
Oh yeah, and folks, if you're a fan of automotive history and you kind of want to learn more about how our domestic industry really was born, and born with these kinds of ideas, Bill. I think that's really important. This is the place to be. Come on down to the Automotive Hall of Fame here in Dearborn. And this summer, I think with the 50-year anniversary, you at the Hall are planning a very special event.
Yeah, because what the events that we're going to do here and showing the innovation and the creativity that went into this project, we're going to have a 3-day event here. Okay. We are expecting to have, they say, 100 Ford GT40s here for a long weekend. That may be a little bit of a parking problem, but we'll handle it. I can handle parking 100 GT40s anywhere, believe me. So we're going to take it on and have a number of events for them. I believe we're going to try to have a day trip in GT40s over to the Edsel and Eleanor Ford house, which most of you know.
So you guys are going to, folks, can you imagine that, seeing, you know, 50, 60, 70, 100 Ford GTs driving through Detroit down to the Edsel and Eleanor Ford house, maybe down Lakeshore Drive, hopefully?
Yes, but we probably shouldn't be telling the Grosse Pointe Farms police at this point, but we'll save that one for, you know, when we get it firmed up. But that's the point, is that these are passionate people about a very iconic car, and we're going to show them a bit of history and a bit of Detroit automotive history here that weekend with a variety of different activities, starting here at the Automotive Hall of Fame.
So the thing to do is come on down to the hall. You can check out all the exhibits, especially this one, to get you a little bit of history of the Henry Ford II and his efforts on the Ford GT and GT40. And then we'll have a special display on the Ford GT, the current iteration of that race car, and then all the activities, of course, here happening at the hall. And if you're going to be around that day, watch for that wonderful parade of these spectacular supercars driving through Grosse Pointe. Get your lawn chairs out, the camera. You likely won't see that many wonderful supercars. You know, I often say, Bill, it took 100 years of Ford legacy to build a car that cool, and I don't know when we'll see something that cool again. And I really appreciate the hall being involved in hosting an event like this.
But this is what we do. We tell the great auto heritage stories of the automobile industry, and certainly this is one of the best ones.
It's going to be a great one. And to give us a little bit of more history behind this wonderful car, and learn more about not just the history of the previous Ford GT40, but the current supercar, the Ford GT. We'll be right back after this to talk about this wonderful supercar and this wonderful event coming up here in Dearborn. You have enough room?
With a 5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back to Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. I told you we had a very special show today. We already met Bill Chapin of the Automotive Hall of Fame, and we're here in the Hall of Fame with 2 very special guests, plus a very special car that you see behind us. The guys who brought that car here, and they're going to tell us a little bit about the Ford GT40 program, the Ford GT program, and what's happening here at the Hall. Are here right now. It's GT, Joey Limogelli.
John, nice to meet you again,
see you
my
again.
friend.
Chris Nardo McGregor.
Pleasure.
These 2 guys, when it comes to this kind of fantastic Ford supercar, they're at the head of the hobby. And so we wanted to bring you guys in today. First of all, thank you for bringing the spectacular machine back to the Motor City. I understand, Chris, this is where it was. You picked it up originally?
Absolutely,
He was
in May.
born here. He
Yep.
came back to his birthplace.
Yep.
But guys, we're here to talk about 50 years of a legacy, which you 2 gentlemen are very much involved. 50 years of the Ford GT program. You know, we had to go back. Bill took us back a little bit, back to 1963, 50 years ago. He talked about how Enzo Ferrari was winning all the racing. It's like it'd be like kind of like the Patriots winning the Super Bowl every year. You know, you get kind of sick of that. When are the Lions going to win? 1957. We've never been in a Super Bowl. And that's kind of like what it was for the domestic automakers. They can never win that race. That's never going to happen.
Right.
Those guys won year after year. And that endurance racing in Le Mans, that was the Super Bowl of automotive racing. That's back then. That's the big deal, right? So here, Mr. Ford said, you know, what's that old saying? If you can't beat them, buy them.
That's right.
So he tried to buy them. Spent, I understand, millions of dollars, folks, doing the books, doing the due diligence, spending lots of money, ready to rock, and then the deal falls through at the bitter end. Mr. Ford was known to get a little upset at him every once in a while. He got upset, decided, well, if I can't buy him, I'm going to beat him. Launches. Now, gentlemen, the problem was in 1963, they started things off, all they had was Lola. And they bought the Lola car, they worked on it, didn't do very well. In 1964, they actually had the program with
Their own team?
Their own team. It did not do well. The car, here we're trying to create a supercar in 1 year to beat the most famous racing brand on the planet, right?
Ferrari at that time.
Who had years of development work on their racers.
Exactly.
So 2 years in, 1965, we did have a Ford GT40. It went out. It didn't do well, but we learned so much. We went to the 7-liter, which for you folks is a 427 cubic inch V8.
That's correct.
It's monster power.
Yeah.
So,
In a 2,000-pound car.
and here's what got these guys involved,
Or
both
less.
Chris and Joey, in 1966. With Mr. Carroll Shelby's racing team, Ford put together probably a dream team.
At that time, yeah.
And then Holman Moody building the cars. Holman Moody is a famous race. People know them from NASCAR racing, but we got them involved. And guys, we came down here, we won. What did it mean to you, Joey?
Well, it was, never thought it was going to happen. And once it did, and then it snowballed from a fluke of 66 into 67, and then 68 and 69. I mean, that legend today hasn't been created. I mean, you have modern teams like Audi and all that, but with today's technology and billions of dollars they put into it, this was all done with a small group of people with no technology, no computers or anything, and it was just, once Carroll Shelby's team got involved, which, by the way, I think yesterday would have been his 91st birthday.
Oh, that's right.
And it's just, it's amazing what American technology could have done, and especially now in 2005 when this car was produced. Today, it was just
You know,
unbelievable.
you have to admire Enzo Ferrari and Henry Ford as well, because Henry Ford did this in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I mean,
He
really.
was very tenacious.
Now,
very
Chris, when you were a little guy, you love cars.
Always loved cars.
But did the Ford GT40 race car get your attention as a little kid?
Sure, when I played with the HO cars, the Aurora cars in my parents' garage, that was my favorite car. Was the GT40. Always was.
So, guys, I need to understand: is it the power, is it the looks, or is it its championship heritage? What does it for you, Joey?
For me, myself,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I think it's really the Americana part of it all. It was produced in the United States, and it's totally unique compared to anything from Europe. And it stands up to Europe and the rest of the world. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's the real deal.
I've owned Ferraris, and when you're in a Ferrari, you don't get the greeting that you get in a Ford GT.
Really?
Everyone from 7 years old to 70 years old, they all are happy for you to have it. They smile, they ask questions at the gas station. I don't feel like if I park my car, they're going to key it.
Yeah.
But with a Ferrari, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Very much the opposite.
But there is a certain amount. I mean, guys, let's face it. You look great today, by the way. The
too,
tuxedos.
young man.
The car looks fantastic. This is the upper echelon. It is the class of the domestic auto industry when you talk about supercars. Yes, we have Corvettes and wonderful Corvettes. We have wonderful Vipers. But because of the limited number, these cars were only built for 2 years. They weren't mass manufactured for years and years.
Correct.
And there's such a limit. It's really the elite of the industry. Do you find that the people that own these are people that are new to Ford, or are they just race cars and collector car guys, or are they just true American kind of lovers?
Would you like me to take that?
Go ahead.
I think today, the first owners were really nostalgic people.
Yeah.
They were older at the time. They had the money 8, 9 years ago. And they wanted to relive, like Chris was saying, back in the 60s. Now we've changed hands on a lot of these cars 2 or 3 times. You're getting more of the race car enthusiast driver. You get some young guys that just like the style and all, okay? But for the most part, I think it's really an enthusiast car.
Yeah.
It's a really enthusiast car.
It's got to be fantastic when you guys drive. Now, Chris, your car, the Nardo car, the 200-mile-an-hour car, driving that around Texas.
Well, can't drive it because it's governed to 5 miles an hour. You can back it in and out of the garage and take it to a few shows.
Take it to a
and
show and see
show
him.
people a picture. I have this car, but that's about it.
You don't drive your beautiful red and white. You have a red and white example.
I have a Goodvin 2005 red with white stripes. I drive it, not regularly.
Long Island?
Around Long Island. It's a beautiful car. That's what started everything. But again, I purchased the first prototype CP1, which is also governed like Chris's car. So you're really not allowed to drive it. It's for show purposes and really for the future.
Well, we're going to come back in a few seconds here and talk about what it's like to own and operate these fantastic supercars. Of course, Joey teamed up with the SVT Owners Association to do this wonderful owner's experience book, which we'll get into a little bit. And he even talked to a couple of mechanics today, who guys who are his whole sole business is to keep these fantastic pieces of automotive history on the road right after this break.
We're back. Hello, this is GT Joey again. I've got two special guests on hand, and if it wasn't for these two gentlemen in the background next to me and the two guys sitting next to me, we wouldn't be here today. Their names are Rich and Dennis from the GT guys. The two GT guys are the backbone of the Ford GT, the modern Ford GT supercar. If it wasn't for these two guys, I don't know where I'd be today, or my buddy Chris with driving this car around the world. These are the guys that originally produced the cars and helped create them, and now they have their own operation and a service center where we once a year have a get-together and take our GTs to the guys, or they come to our house, repair, work on the car, and keep them 100% top-notch condition. Guys, tell us a little bit about what you do.
We take care and maintain and repair and mod as many of the Ford GTs as we can. We've got our own company that we started about 6 years ago. It's called the GT Guy LLC, and the website is www.thegtguyllc.com. And we try to take care of as many of the cars and the customers as we can.
Dennis, how many years have you been working with Ford Roush before you started the endeavor?
Well, I think it's been about 15 years. I've been with Ford and Roush and working, and then the GT came about, and it was a great opportunity for us.
How we met, when I decided to put together the rally for the first GT gathering, when we were coming to the end of the production for the Ford GT in 2006, I had a walkthrough through Ford and Roush, and I had met Dennis and Rich working on the cars at that time at Ford and Roush. And I said to him at the time, look, most of the guys that would purchase these cars either own Porsche, Jaguar, Mercedes, and all the rest, and we're used to a certain service. And we weren't getting that from our local Ford dealership because it was such an exotic car at the time, okay? And I made a suggestion possibly when their time was up that they could have started their own company, and they did. Mm-hmm. And since that time, if it wasn't for the GT guys, probably the car would not be worth what it is today, knowing that we have these guys to repair the cars. Over the years, guys, what have you seen with the car? It's been bulletproof drivetrain-wise, engine, tranny, rear. I mean, it's just an army tank.
Right,
okay, there have been a couple of issues along the way with recalls and stuff, but basically, the car has really been a dynamic car in the respects that we don't have any tragic losses like transmissions or engine failures or anything like that. Have you experienced the same thing?
Right. They've been pretty much bulletproof. Most of the issues that have been self-induced because of driver errors or tried to do too much with the car, you know, without doing some more extra research on it, but they've been pretty much bulletproof.
I never thought along the way that so many guys, because it's such a rare car, there are only 4,000 made, 2,000 per year, probably roughly we could say safely, 1,500 of them aren't even on the road anymore out of the 4,000?
Probably, it'd be about that,
Okay.
or in some state of repair at this time.
I cannot believe how many people would take, and we just did a study the other day, we had 2 or 3 owners that have, at least in the last 6 months, put 100 to 150,000 into the cars with twin turbos, carbon fiber packages, lowering kits, and of course none of that could have been possible without your knowledge and expertise in
We've
making
done
that happen. So
yeah, we've done quite a few cars. There's a lot of guys that have more into the car than the car cost them originally,
Right.
and then they're quite the showpieces with custom paint jobs and different signature series. And
Yeah, the original stock configuration, we were looking at 550 brake horsepower at the wheels, roughly, gross.
Right, right,
Okay? With some of these twin turbo packages and chips and pulley and tunes, what you guys could do, I've seen, and I've never seen a problem with the bottom end of the engine with the factory block. I've seen 12, 13, 1400 horsepower, correct?
That's correct.
correct, correct.
And broken a lot of records around the world.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I think it was Mike Eller at the time that told us from the engine department from Romeo, Joe, you guys could put a pulley, a tune, a chip. We'll guarantee the warranty anything up to 850 horsepower net.
Right.
When the car originally came out, and you guys exceeded that by 400 or 500 horsepower,
Right, right.
and they still don't blow up.
Right.
So what have you guys got coming up? Anything exciting? What are the repairs?
We've got quite a few wrecked ones that we're working on. Unfortunately, a lot of them get wrecked, because of new drivers or just issues with the weather or the tires. We've got some custom paint job cars that we're working on right now, so we're signature series cars. We've got quite a few. There's a wide range of repairs and modifications that we've done and are still doing.
Since you guys were there from the beginning, there was a handful of GTX1s that were produced. I think at the time 13 or 15.
Right.
The original production build up, they thought they were going to do 50.
Right.
Okay? Those are very, very rare cars of this car, okay? And I think now the both of you are the authorized mechanics to do the work on those 13 or 15 cars. Any body panel service work,
Right.
anything to that effect, correct?
Right.
And I think there were one or two shells left around that if you wanted to produce another GTX1,
It's
you could
possible.
possibly still do it.
Right, it's
And it's
possible.
authorized through you guys.
Right, right.
And it's safe and all the other stuff, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Anything else you guys got coming up?
No, just the normal day-to-day. Every day we get to see about anywhere from 10 to 20 GTs in our shop at various stages of, needing a flat tire, oil change, to putting a new frame under it. So we've seen quite the...
To reframe one of these cars today, we know how much the car cost. It's amazing how the base sticker price to the dealer in 2005 was roughly $133,000 sticker to the dealer.
Right.
Okay, the car's never sold for anything less than $160, $170 bare minimal. And then with the $10,000 increase in 2006, it was $143,000 to the dealer.
Right.
Isn't it amazing today for an American automobile? It's 7, 8 years from that date. You cannot find a car under $180,000 today as a base car.
Correct, yeah.
And I never thought the day would come that when somebody wrecked one, and I know the frame alone is roughly $50,000, just the frame,
Right,
okay?
yeah,
And we've
dealer.
seen you guys completely reframe a car
Yes.
at a cost of $100,000 probably, total all in with the repair, the paint, and the reframe, and people still do it.
Right, mainly
I mean-
because there are no more cars available. Ford's not making them anymore, and
It's
that
just-
drives the value up.
It's just unbelievable. The car is just a total icon. And of course, you guys are going to be a part of what's coming up in August. And in August now, we have another special treat. In the front hall of the Hall of Fame Museum, we're going to have the first prototype CP1, which I own. We're going to have the Nardo car that broke all the records in Italy. And we're also going to have one of the very first workhorses that they still have on hand. So when everybody comes in August, you're going to be seeing the very first cars that started the routine to get to the car you see behind you. And then, of course, we might have a couple of other surprises along the way.
Sure.
And just want to bring up another thing. On the early cars, we picked a very early VIN car because there were issues like any other early built car, okay? And we went through the crank seal and all the other stuff in the early days. But we literally did in 7 to 14 days, we did 7,500, 8,000 miles without a hitch with a car that sat in a garage for 3 years.
Right.
Okay? Other than putting tires. This car is still running on the original brakes, rotors, plugs, air filter, and belts. It's just amazing. If this was a Ferrari, like my old 550, every 10,000 miles, the engine would have to come out of the car
Right,
for
right.
belts, valves, timing, plugs. Okay?
Right.
So it just proves the durability of this car, like it was in the 60s and today. It's such a dynamic and durable car that's why I think it's holding its value, because of guys like you that really put the time in, which we could also say, you guys only had a window of 16 to 18 months, which you were there at the
Right.
time, okay, to produce this car from paper, clay, to the actual production car, which is unheard of in the last 20, 30
Yeah, right.
years. Okay?
Yep.
Is there anything else you guys would like to bring up?
No, we're just happy to work on the cars every day and try to make as many GT owners happy as we can.
Okay. Well, go to their website once again
It's www.thegtguyllc.com.
and a phone number.
734-658-9498.
And you guys are in the Detroit area.
Right, right.
Okay. Well, we'll be back with another edition. Thank you.
And welcome back to Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. I hope you've been enjoying this wonderful history lesson, not only about the Ford GT40 racing program of yesteryear, but about the fabulous Ford GT, of which we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of this fantastic car here at the Hall of Fame. I've got another special guest today. We're going to be talking right now to Michelle Duncan Gilbert. You are the project manager here, which means you have to put together all these wonderful things, and we are having a wonderful event about this wonderful car. Tell us a little bit, Michelle, about what's coming up in August.
We're going to have a 3-day event, August 8th, 9th, and 10th. On Thursday the 8th, we're going to do a private welcome party for the owners of the Around the World car. On Friday, we're going to do a kind of a GT day. It's going to be a roundtable lecture event here at the Automotive Hall of Fame with GT owners. And then we're going to do a GT cruise through downtown Detroit, and we're going to end up at the Eleanor and Edsel Ford House.
Oh, folks, you've got to be able to see that, maybe even just follow it.
Sure, definitely, definitely.
If not, bring your lawn chairs out along Lakeshore Drive and watch them go to the Edsel. That's going to be for a picnic out there for all the participants?
Yes.
And then I understand that that's your day to have it kind of open to the public, but you're going to have this car on display this summer to come and see, right?
Yes.
So if you come on down, you'll be able to take a look at this wonderful car. The hall will have other things to show you a little bit of the history, maybe in the theater.
Yep.
And you'll be able to also see the SVT Enthusiast magazine it was in. So come on down and witness this. And then now these dates again are what?
8th, 9th, and 10th.
Okay.
And the 10th is open to the public. The 10th is the big day. That's the day we'll have over 100 GT cars here on display. We'll have a book signing with Joey Limogelli.
Joey, you're going to be bringing your book now.
I'll be bringing my existing book right now, and then next year at this time we'll have the new book about the car around the world.
Now, if people want to get some information on your book, didn't you talk to Mr. Leno and Leno's Garage? Can they still access that somewhere on YouTube or
Yep,
on
on
SVT?
Jay Leno's Garage. On
Okay.
Jay Leno's Garage.
Okay.
And just under search, look up Ford GT, and you'll see the book.
Now, what did you talk about why you did the book? He did a book review, Joey, of that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he's one of the first people that wanted to join the book because he's one of the earliest owners of the cars.
So the book talks about the owner experience, Chris, and you guys have had these cars for years, but it really gets you into the nuts and bolts of the car?
Oh, yeah. Everything that you'd ever need to know if you wanted to purchase a car today is in this book. It's actually a Ford authorized product.
So, Michelle, when are you having the book signing here again?
That'll be on Saturday, August 10th.
On Saturday. So, folks, this is your chance to get immersed in one of probably the most iconic American car, whether it be race car or production car. Not to slight any of the other supercars that are built by the domestic makers, but because of the only 2 years of existence of its production, plus the fact that they're so rare, folks, how often do you see one of these GTs rolling down the street? It's really something to witness. So we'll be at the Hall of Fame. Michelle, can they check out schedules or check the website? What should they call? Give us the number as well.
We will have it on the website. It'll be www.automotivehalloffame.org.
Okay.
And we will have those dates pretty soon. We'll have all that information out.
Okay, and if you want to call the Hall of Fame, can you give us a number if they want to call for information?
313-240-4000.
Folks, that's your chance to come on down to the hall and witness this. I know GT Joey Limogelli will be here again when that big happening comes in August. Chris Nardo McGregor will be here. I'll be here. I want to see all of you here as well. Thanks again for joining us here on Cars in Context. We hope you had a little bit of fun today. Remember, until next time, that knowledge is power. I'm your host, John Clor. Thanks for watching.